Hello everyone, Epsilon9 here, and this is a Minimalist Review, where I talk about something I just watched, but only put about an afternoon's worth of effort into creating. And what I just watched was Amazon's pilot for the new live-action Tick, starring Peter Serafinowicz as our titular character. No, Patrick Warburton is not playing the Tick. That's a good thing, but I'll get into that later. Let me just start by saying that I love the Tick. I started with the 94 cartoon series, and I had the action figures for both of the main characters. When I was old enough to drive, I made my way to every comic book shop in the city and bought up dozens of issues of Tick comics. And I watched the 2001 live-action series starring Warburton, and I'm probably the only one who didn't like it. It was well received by fans and critics, and finally remembered by cast and crew. It was written by the four main writers of the original animated series, including Ben Edlund, the Tick's original creator himself. I personally wasn't a fan of it because it felt less like Tick and more like Seinfeld and cosplay, which, according to the executive producer Larry Charles, was kind of the intention. I just always thought of the Tick and his crew as satirical superheroes rather than a bunch of schmucky characters who just happen to be wearing costumes. But what do I know? I'm just some nerd on the internet. I will admit I was unjustly bothered by American Made and Deflator Mouse being replaced by Captain Liberty and Batmanuel, respectively. Turns out when Fox was making the new series, Disney still owned those characters. My mistake. But I will say that while I genuinely love all of Patrick Warburton's work, I think he was miscast as the Tick. Yes, the Tick is big and simple-minded, and that's what Warburton has been typecasted as, but he's first and foremost dramatic and dynamic in a really over-the-top way, shouting at evildoers with the sort of bravado only someone as big and blue as he can manage. Serafinowicz nails that performance of a character who thinks life functions like a comic book. Amazon's The Tick is a somewhat darker take on the series. Despite being in a world where superheroes have existed for decades, normal people are decidedly normal. They don't behave any differently than they would in a show where heroes don't exist at all. Which I kinda like, because it offers a stark contrast to the Tick's zaniness. Meanwhile, the heroes seem as cheesy as one might expect, and the villains are somewhere in between, where they'll dress up in elaborate costumes, but aren't above just shooting some guy in the face with a 9mm. Jackie Earle Haley's The Terror is spot on, being both terrifying and still kind of a fun character. Valerie Curry plays Arthur's sister Dot. She's a paramedic in this version. She's very supportive of her brother, though not so much his choice to be a hero. Curry does a really good job of playing an exasperated, concerned sister. Serafinowicz is about as accurate as you can get, and he seems to be having a lot of fun with the role. Finally, there's Arthur, who the pilot mainly focuses on. After some childhood trauma, he seems to have developed some form of paranoid schizophrenia. He's a lot more reluctant to being a hero in this version, which makes sense. Previous versions lived in worlds where putting on a costume without actually having any real superpowers, well, it wasn't accepted, but people weren't automatically looking to institutionalize you. And he still has the character's usual fear of any amount of danger, but you can tell deep down, under many layers of anxiety, and in spite of the loud voice of reason screaming in his ear, he wants to be a hero. And that is what Arthur is. Amazon's The Tick is amazing. While I still think the series works better as a cartoon, if I were to get a proper live-action series of The Tick, this is how I want it. My only real criticism with the pilot is that they apparently wanted to end on a dramatic cliffhanger where, spoilers, it appears Arthur gets shot, but that's after they establish his moth suit is bulletproof. I hope you'll watch the pilot and make your own opinion, and I really hope that the series gets picked up.